I'm news columnist John A. Torres, and welcome back to Inside Murder on the Space Coast, where every week I'm joined by Jessica Saggio, and we talk about the latest 2 episodes of Murder on the Space Coast, the podcast. Now, spoiler alert, if you haven't already listened to episodes 7 and 8, stop right now and go and listen to them, because we're about to spoil it for you, right? So, once again, I'm John Torres. I'm the narrator, reporter, and...
everything.
Everything. I'm Murder on the Space Coast. But I want to acknowledge executive editor Bob Gabordi, because without his support and his love of the podcast, I would not be doing this. The producer is Rob Landers. He's awesome. And the editor is Mara Bellaby. And so here we go. So just to bring you up to speed, and just in case you're new to this, but you shouldn't be, because if you're watching this, you've already been listening to the podcast.
Right, and you should be.
Right. So, but Brandy Hall was a 32-year-old firefighter, a mother of 2, wife, a daughter, who went missing in August of 2006 from the Malabar fire station. Now, episode 7, we get a little weird, right? We get some rumors that like the cops had to explore all these rumors. Wife swapping, swinger parties, other lovers, of course, the drugs. You didn't know that all this was going on in Brevard County until recently, right?
Oh, yeah. Take a look at the Space Coast Craigslist sometime, everyone, and prepare to be amazed.
Swingers, parties, wife swapping.
There's some freaky stuff on there.
Yeah, some weird stuff. So anyway, like we had heard lots of rumors, and Sid's report has lots of rumors of it, but the police weren't ever able to really hash it out. So it's just been, it has all been cast aside. But the drugs we know about, right? So they ruled out the drugs. But I'm not so sure about that, because when you get, like mixed up in drugs, Jessica, like bad things happen, right? I mean... yeah, and
it's so secretive that you kind of don't know how far that network went. And I feel like in this episode, we really don't know how far, they were reaching with those drugs. And they said it was a small operation, right?
Right, but who knows?
But who knows? I mean...
Exactly. Now, the other weird rumor was that she might have staged all this. Yeah, what was your impression of that?
I thought that was a little bit too far. I felt like that was a really bad made-up story. That's how I felt just listening to it. That would just take so much effort. And a mom of 2 who's like firefighting on the side, there's no way she had time to deal with that. And then she had the other stuff she was doing, the side business.
Right.
There's no way that was true.
Who knows? But anyway, here is Detective Mike Pusatire talking about the drug theory and why it was eventually ruled out.
I interviewed Jeff Hall and Paul Hirsch, who was arrested with them, and both of them said, no, we're just kind of getting started. We'd only been doing it for a relatively short period of time. They would sell to one person and one person only that Paul Hirsch knew, and they would never tell him who that is, because it was somebody that he'd known for years and years and years. And they said, look, we were the ones that were growing it. We were the ones that did wrong. We'll take our lumps. Right. And so there was no exchange of information for a reduced sentence kind of arrangement for him. He was pleading guilty to the charges.
Gotcha.
And so if you're pleading guilty to the charges, there's really no reason for somebody to come out and try to kill you or send a message to you to be quiet, because there's nothing.
He isn't ratting on anybody.
Correct.
Gotcha. Okay, Jess, now, whatever theory you want to believe, it's important to note that the 2 retired guys working on this case, the awesome Silva and Doc Jones, they both believe Brandy to have been a victim of foul play. Do you think she's alive at all? I mean, is there any chance, or?
I have a hard time believing she's still alive.
Yeah.
It's a really far reach for me to think that that's the case. Nothing adds up for that to be true, to me.
Right. I mean, she would have had to just eliminate any feelings she had for her young children, her parents, and just to be off the grid for all this time and not contact anybody.
Right. I mean, that's if she has, there's human trafficking and things like that could have been, I guess, but there hasn't been any indication that might have been a thing so far, at least that I've heard. So I just
don't add any more theories to this, please.
Sorry.
There's enough theories to go around.
Yeah.
But anyway, okay, so now on to episode 8, right, where we finally get some alibis. Jeff Hall is able to actually talk to the cops, and he has a pretty good alibi. He says that the night Brandy went missing, he was home in bed watching TV with his kids. Now, Randall Richmond, her lover, right, his alibi is even better. Remember, he was a fire captain in Palm Bay, and he was working that night, and he says that he never left, and his men, they all back him up. Now, hopefully Rob can hook us up with a clip here of Randall talking with the FDLE agents about that night.
Yeah, that night, Randall, when you were talking to her, like you said, around 10 or 11, It was actually 2306 is when you and I were talking.
11 o'clock.
Right.
2300.
That's what I'm saying. You
yeah.
were in ballpark on it. Your memory's pretty good. When you were talking to her, where were you?
At the station.
Okay. From that time forward, did you ever leave the station?
Never left the station.
Okay. Did you guys get any calls? Anything?
I have to listen to everything. I listen to all the calls. My box does not mute. And yeah, there were calls throughout tonight, but no, I never left.
Okay. So if and I don't understand y'all's job, if they go out on a call, you don't necessarily go with them?
No, it depends on what it is. If it's just a regular routine EMS call, emergency medical call, I don't have to go.
Okay.
If
Do you remember if they got any call outs that night?
I don't remember. I really don't.
Okay.
I mean, we could pull the records on that. That's easy.
Yeah, that's true. That would do it.
I don't know if they got calls or not. I know that I never left the station. I never had to get up and go to on a call.
Okay.
I never left.
Okay, so the alibis are what they are. Either you believe them or you don't, and they haven't been proven or disproven. But Jess, you wanted to talk about the phone calls. Mm-hmm. What did you want to say?
So the alibis, I mean, sure, they both had one, but the thing that stuck out to me the most was the phone records. And that was Jeff Hall was calling her like a worried husband kind of thing. But Randall didn't call her at all after a certain point. After that last conversation, that was it. So to me, like, Hall's story almost stacks up a little bit better than Randall's did.
It does raise a curious question. If you're talking to a person around 52 times a day, mm-hmm. and even though the person apparently says to you, I'm leaving town, aren't you going to reach out after a certain time?
Right.
And say, I mean, like, he was in love with her, obviously. I mean, I don't know. But, yeah, if you watch Dateline or any of these shows, they always check and see were there phone calls made to try and reach the person mm-hmm. who is now dead. So
right, and it's just it's like we were talking before, you know, there's all these guys who vouched for him that he was there, but you know, I wouldn't really know if my boss was coming and going, and I don't know the dynamic of that, you know, firehouse or whatever, but like if you asked me if my boss was here today, I'd be like, yeah, sure, he was here, I saw him.
Right. Well, and Sid Liddell says that, you know, maybe the problem was in the question and how these firefighters were asked. I think they were asked, did Randall leave the station that night? When they should have been asked, did you see Randall leave the station that night?
Right.
So, anyway, you stay tuned. More episodes are coming up of Murder on the Space Coast, which is brought to you by Florida Today, a part of the USA Today network. It's available on just about every major podcast platform, iTunes and Google Play and SoundCloud and all that. And, of course, whereisbrandyhall.com, which I know that Jessica has gone to now after I shamed her last episode.